February the 1st, 1985, Boston. A Boeing 767-200 lifts off for Paris, 2 engines humming beneath its wings. For decades, such a flight was forbidden. But on this day, a quiet revolution begins, one that will rewrite the rules of the sky. This is Wings and Wrecks. How machines fail and what saves the people inside them. How could 2 engines be trusted over an ocean? The answer lies in ETOPS, a certification that measures not just engines but reliability. And it's why the 4-engine jumbo is vanishing from the skies. What kept twin-engine airliners chained to the coast for 3 decades? In 1953, the FAA drew a line across the sky. No twin could ever be more than 60 minutes from a diversion airport, flying on 1 engine. The rule was born of caution, and it kept the North Atlantic to the big 3- and 4-engine jets. A twin over open water with 1 engine dead had no margin for error. If the remaining engine failed, there was nowhere to land. The rule forced airlines to use 3- and 4-engine aircraft for long haul, and for decades, the Atlantic crossing belonged to the big jets. What made February 1st, 1985 different? A Boeing 767-200 lifts off from Boston, bound for Paris. Nothing looks unusual, but this flight carries a quiet revolution. For the first time, a twin-engine jet is allowed to cross the Atlantic, with a diversion time of 2 hours, not 1. The old 60-minute rule has just been doubled. The certification itself demanded proof. Engines had to show an in-flight shutdown rate better than 1 per 20,000 hours. A twin could lose an engine and still have 1 left to fly on. Engine reliability alone wasn't enough. The aircraft needed redundant systems, duplicated electrical power, backup hydraulics. That redundancy, proven in the data, is what let a twin venture far from shore. The shutdown rates tell the story. For ETOPS 180, engines must fail less than once per 50,000 hours. That's 1 failure every 5 years of continuous flight. Here's the twist. A 4-engine jet with older engines might have a shutdown rate of 1 per 20,000 hours per engine. The math of probability shows that the chance of losing all thrust is actually higher on that quad than on a modern twin. What does the math say about 4 engines versus 2? Modern turbofans have shutdown rates measured in fractions of an event per million engine flight hours. Real failures are vanishingly rare. That's why the 4-engine era is ending. Losing half your power can be safer than losing a quarter. With 4 engines, you have 4 chances for a failure. With 2, only 2. And when each chance is vanishingly small, fewer chances means less risk. Consider the math. To match the safety of a twin, a 3-engine jet would need an engine shutdown rate of just 0.2 per 1,000 hours. But modern engines are 1,000 times better. The 4-engine jumbo, once the queen of the skies, now carries more risk than the twin that replaced it. When an engine quits over the Atlantic, the pilot begins a drift down. Maximum thrust, minimum rate descent. The diversion route must clear the terrain below. The diversion route now leads to a string of remote outposts: Gander, Goose Bay, St. John's, Keflavik, Lajes, Shannon. These are the names printed on the side of every ETOPS aircraft, the places that make the ocean crossable. Each one is a promise. Land is never more than 3 hours away. And that is the quiet miracle of ETOPS. The aircraft systems, the pilot's training, the fuel held in reserve. All of it converges on one certainty. Even hours from land, a safe landing is not a hope. It is a plan. Today, ETOPS clearances stretch to 330 minutes, even 370. A twin can fly more than 6 hours from the nearest runway, on 1 engine, and still reach land. The 4-engine jumbo is being retired for twins that are cheaper to fly and statistically safer. The first ETOPS 120 flight proved the concept. The Boeing 767-200 had to demonstrate engine reliability and systems redundancy. That flight opened the door to longer diversions, eventually reaching 330 minutes and beyond. For ETOPS 180, an engine must fail less than once per 50,000 hours. That's like flying non-stop for 5 years before a single failure. Beyond 180 minutes, the requirement is 1 failure per 100,000 hours. ETOPS certification forces the entire aircraft to be designed for failure. Larger fuel tanks, time-limited fuel systems, and duplicated electrical power ensure a single failure never cascades into catastrophe. The Diversion Network stretches across the North Atlantic. Gander, Goose Bay, St. John's, Keflavik, Lajes, Shannon, and Prestwick. Each one is a lifeline, meticulously chosen to ensure land is never more than 3 hours away. An engine failure demands a precise response. The pilot initiates a drift down, maximum thrust, minimum rate descent. The route must clear every mountain and ridge below. It's a choreographed emergency, rehearsed until it's second nature. The four-engine giants are fading into memory, replaced by twins that carry the same passengers across the same oceans, with fewer engines and less risk. The rule that once kept them close to land has become the very reason they now fly farther than ever. Every failure leaves a lesson. Subscribe so you don't miss the next investigation, our next video.